Wave hello. Here we go. Dance with me. Charles, you can't sit still. Not possible.
Welcome to the Creativity Show.
I change the show name every week.
Let it flow.
Let it flow.
Unscripted words in a
Unscripted
velvet
words.
ring.
Velvet ring.
Savvy minds on the line they bring.
You're the savvy mind.
Producer and host in the glow.
In the glow.
AKA
Radio Red.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Tell me what it is.
Sparks your fire.
Keeps you
What keeps you moving?
higher and higher. The Creativity Show.
There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. New music, new opening, and new background. I've been working on this all day. I'm AKA Radio Red. And where else would I be on a Monday at 5:03 p.m. Eastern Time? Right here hosting the Creativity Show. It used to be Read My Lips, then it was Creativity Show, then it was the Creativity Spark Show, and today it's the Creative People Roundtable. And the reason I put the word people in the title is because we're all real. There are no avatars allowed on this show. Charles, I just wanted you to know I tested and you are a real person. We've got interesting people from all around the world here. I'm delighted to have all of you. I met Charles at the recent National Publicity Summit. I attended 3 times a year. Marcel Vo. Marcel, I've known you for years. I met you at the summit. I've seen you in other places. You're coming on my technology show soon. And Jan, I met you through social media, which was lovely. And you said, I got to get on this woman's show. And all of a sudden I invited you, and here you are, and you're going to be on a video trailer show with me soon on my technology show as well. So Charles, you never know, you could get invited back for something else. It's hard to say. So what I'd like to do is officially start the show, and let's see where we are. Today happens to be August 3rd, so it's the first Monday of August, and I want to tell you all that Tom Brady, the football star, quarterback, 5-time MVP, is 49 years old today. If anybody is a fan of Tom Brady, you have to send him a birthday card or a greeting or something like that. And Tony Bennett, who left us a couple of years ago, the singer, was born today in 1926. That's all I'm going to tell you. But this is very important news. Today is Mustard Day. I just want you all to know, and I want you to know that mustard was not born yellow. Jan, it gets its yellow color from turmeric, which has an R in the middle of it, which I thought it was turmeric. And did you know also that the Egyptians put mustard seeds in the tombs with their, I don't know whether they were mummies yet or not, for the afterlife? It was supposed to be something very important. And there's a National Mustard Museum in Wisconsin. Charles, I'm sure that's going to be something you're going to want to visit.
Oh, yeah.
On your holiday. So now I can officially, now we've done that. Now I can officially start the show. So here we go. Welcome to the Creative People Roundtable, where unforgettable stories take flight. AKA Radio Red and her Scarlett Mic is live streaming. Bright. The mapping of creativity is our spotlight today. That's in honor of the 3 of you. Curiosity, courage, and resilience are marking the way. Wave when I call your name, Charles Grimes. There you go. Marcel, am I pronouncing it correctly, Vogely? Is that right?
As usual.
As you thank you, dear. Want to make sure. And Jan Burl, there's beautiful Jan, join me to share how creativity has shaped their journeys with purpose and with care. Hear their bold ideas, our cool conversations, and inspiration that's real, and discover what your own creativity may happen to reveal. And now I have a gift for each of you, and Charles, you're up first, and I hope you enjoy this. Born near Liverpool, where music first stirred his soul, Charles's artist mum inspired beauty while life's twists shaped his role. Real estate was never where his heart was meant to stay, yet fate kept opening unexpected doors along the way. A broken truck in India changed everything to come. Soon Hong Kong called. Charles, with broadcasting, his life heard a different drum. Oh, I have my drumsticks here. Let's see. All right, we got that. That's about as good as it's going to go before I break something here. A different drum. From classical guitar to radio's welcoming embrace, Charles discovered purpose shines when passion finds its place. Embracing psychology and leadership, he's helped great teams succeed, showing change begins with people and listening to what they need. Now author, singer, traveler, with creativity as his guide, Charles proves the finest journeys start by trusting what's inside. Charles, I hope you like that.
That was very beautiful. Thank you.
You're very
Yes.
welcome.
It sounds as if I've had a great life.
Well, for purposes of this show, you have, dear. So just
Yes.
just deal with it, okay? Marcel, Marcel is next. Some people ask me if they can have that for their never mind obituary. Okay, here we go. Raised near Rotterdam, where borders shaped his view, between Dutch and Belgian worlds, Marcel found perspectives anew. While others studied textbooks, he studied the soul, discovering it was people, not pages, that made him feel whole. From bakers' ovens to theater, each path revealed its art as Marcel followed curiosity more than any written chart. Life's greatest challenges became the questions that he would face, searching for deeper stories that were hiding in each space. Now penning as Mafrivo, his poetry dares to explore, inviting quiet self-reflection and always finding something more. Marcel reminds us that every ending can become a brand new, fresh start when we're willing to read the language of the mind and the language of the heart. Marcel, I hope you like that.
Radio Red, I'm touched.
I'm
Thank you
glad.
so much.
You're welcome. And Jan, here's one for you. Born in Kingston, New York. I told you this is a global group. Born in Kingston, New York, where each new adventure called her name. Jan, Jan. Jan embraced life's winding roads, discovering no two were ever the same. An alto vocalist, trumpeter, journalist, writing stories yet untold. Her boundless curiosity opened doors to new adventures bold. From farms and farmers' markets to steering an 18-wheeler's wheel, Jan followed every pathway that let her spirit feel. An old campfire, a weathered book, one mentor, kind and wise, awakened her poetry's quiet voice between Adirondack skies, beneath skies. Now best-selling novelist and children's author, her imagination is free to soar from Tippy's playful tales to romantic Scottish The Mirror. Jan keeps us wanting more. She reminds us every life can blossom, chapter after chapter anew, when curiosity leads the journey and true creativity carries you through. Jan, I hope you like that.
Love it, Bonnie. It's beautiful. Radio Red.
There you go. Yeah, I have to keep my persona straight here. I'm red today. There you go. Here's a closing. Show's over, kids. So I've done all the work now. So gather around where the cool kids and the cool vibes sway as we map wonderful creativity today. AKA Radio Red's energy lights the way. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. Okay, kids, how'd I do? What do you think? Gonna let me stay?
Oh,
Charles?
Yeah.
yeah, wonderful. Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
I'm glad. I'll take 2 thumbs on that one. Good. That's my gift to you. Now, what I'd like to do is go around the table and have you, each of you, happen to have one of your books there. Otherwise, just tell us a little bit about the latest thing that you've written. Remember, this is a roundtable. We speak in approximately 3-minute sound bites. I won't cut you off. Unless I have to. I control the microphones. What can I tell you? So I'm going to start with you, Charles Grimes. I'm so happy to meet you, and I'm going to put you on speaker view. So you're the only one everybody's going to see. So why don't you tell us a little more about what you've been up to, and welcome.
Well, yeah. Good evening, Red. That's lovely. Good evening from where in my time. It's 10 o'clock here. Yeah. Well, I've you asked for the book. Well, there it is, and it's obviously there's a big version on the behind. And it's a collection of essays I wrote a little while ago, and because I really combine two things. One is from work, I really have always loved leadership. I've always been fascinated with how some people can affect groups. But my real thing is music. And it's more, sometimes people say, well, it's far more than an interest or even a passion. It's just who I am. It really is. If you cut me, you'd see, music pouring out. I always have music, for example, in my head, going round. And so I've sung at a very high level for ever since I was a little boy. So for the last 60 years, I've sung at a professional level, and I saw quite a long time ago a real connection between leadership. If you want to think about leadership, and I think the best model is looking at orchestras or orchestras and conductors, or choirs and conductors, and I think there is so much that we can learn. And it's not just in our workplaces. Of course, that's the most obvious place when we think of leadership, but it could be in our community. It could be in our home life, just as equally. And there are, as I said, many things that we can learn. The most obvious one being listening, because that's what musicians do. Just like artists
There
are
you go.
outstanding at seeing what most people don't see. Musicians are wonderful at hearing what most people don't don't hear. Well, most people hear, but there's a distinction between hearing, of course, and listening.
Charles,
And
I'm listening and I'm enjoying this, but I want to know a little bit more about you. I want to know about the leadership, and the music is a great lesson. You're drawing the lines, the
yeah,
connection so beautifully. And by the way, I love you listening to your voice. We want a little bit more about you. So when did you start writing? When did leadership, just briefly, because we need to move on,
sure.
but when did leadership become something that was a theme for you? When did it dawn on you?
I'd sung with many great conductors, world famous conductors, but it was one particular example when the good conductor came along to a rehearsal, and the first half of the rehearsal, where he wasn't there, we were dreadful, and then we had a coffee break, and then he came along, and he started, and he there was almost no words. It's just good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can we go from Act One, Scene Three? And then suddenly he was there. And I can still feel, I mean, this is almost 30 years ago, like a lightning bolt, the energy that he gave. And an hour later, we were just singing like a choir possessed. And on the way home, I was thinking, what just happened? Because we went from being really poor to being fabulous. And the only difference was him. And
Okay.
so I just wanted to find out. So try and understand leadership. Yeah.
Very interesting. And your example is wonderful because sometimes it's that one person who
Mm,
says something, who enters a room, who stands on a stage or on a chair, or just walks in a door, and the temperature in the room changes because of a charisma, because of a persona, because of a strength, because of a message, or because of perhaps it's just that innate sense of leadership. They
yeah.
just they just change, they impact you. You walk in and you hear them, you see them, and you say, aha, something just happened. Beautifully put. Thank you very much, Charles. Very, very
Thank
interesting.
you.
Let's go around the table. Marcel, I haven't seen you in a while, and you're going to be on another show with me coming up soon. I'm delighted to see you. And I love that orange turtleneck. I really do. I think I told you to wear it, and thank you very much. If I didn't, I should have, and I'm glad you did. Okay, I'm putting you on speaker view. And what I'd like, Marcel, is you please just tell us a little bit about what you've up to, and why don't you introduce Mafrevo? Go ahead.
There we go. Thank you, Radio Red. Well, for the invitation, first and for all, and also for the room to speak. I come with words that do not still. They do not sit still. Those are words with appeal, and with pulse, with something hidden at the core. And that's actually like an orange. Maybe that matters most is not the surface, but what waits beneath it. And orange is exactly what comes back in the book I represent. Now, very shortly, I grew up between the Netherlands and Belgium, and that was a house that was in a way a shelter, but that in between life also taught me to read what is unspoken, to notice the tension beneath the appearances, and to trust the space where those differences meet. And I never felt drawn to forced directions, only to what really felt true. So that path that I followed in my life was actually never a straight line. As you said, I moved through different studies, hospitality, bakery, drama school, and that was not because I was lost, but that was because I was listening. I was searching for the place where sensitivity, curiosity, and expression could live in that same body. Now, as I told in before previously, I had two violent eruptions that changed my life. I had a fractured spine after a car accident in Turkey, and later had severe autoimmune collapse in Cuba. And both asked the same question: what if that body is not failing, but is speaking? And that is basically what led me to Christian Bierland, the legacy voice I'm now representing. But besides that, I learned that in this language, in the sensitivity, there's poetry. And poetry expresses sensitivity, expresses sometimes those feelings which we cannot speak to one another. Poetry sometimes for me is also something that actually you write to yourself. I have been writing poetry for almost 30 years now, over 30 years. I'm turning 50 next week.
What?
I am. I know I don't believe it, but that's something, and this is why it's unpublished. It's mainly work, poetry, how I feel, how I perceive the world around me, sometimes in a language that only I understand. And this is actually my coming out as Marcel Vo, which comes from my name, Marcel Fridolin Vogeli. I put them together, and that's a name that exists for already 35 years. And I feel now, thanks to you, that poetry is now where it all returns, sharpened, stripped down, and it's made visible again. So I thank you.
You are very, very kind. Very, very interesting. Thank you. I was reading through Marcel's bio, his origin story he sent me, and I know he was going to represent the Christiane's way of thinking in her book. And I picked up on the word poetry in there. And I think I went back to you and I said, okay, tell me more. What's going on here? And then you said, okay, I will speak as a poet as well. And that was something that was Charles. I was listening to him. I listened. I heard. I read the word and I heard something else about Marcel. I've done this with some of my other guests where they'll send me a bio and it's very corporate and very enterprise and very professional. And I'll pick up on one or two words and I'll say, tell me about this. And you know what they say mostly? Nobody ever asked me about that. Thank you for asking me. And then they're off and running with the description. And that happens. Nobody ever asked me. Well, I'm asking you because I'm hearing you and I want to see you. Marcel, thank you. And at the end of the show, I will be reading one of my poems. I favor acrostics and no nets, disappearing nines. I like to use formats. And I'm part of an online poetry group at Writer's Digest. And I write 1 to 3 poems every Wednesday. And in April and in November, we get a prompt a day from the moderator. And I write 1 to 5 poems a day. So I've written about 800 poems, unpublished, but they have been on this website over the years as a group of lovely people. And one of those people is going to be joining us on that poetry show, Marcel. You'll be meeting Dennis Gray. So very, very interesting. Okay, and I'll read you one of mine later. Jan is here. Jan, I am so happy to see. Did I see Tippy? Was Tippy making it? Can you invite
Tippy,
Tippy?
Tippy,
Come on over.
come here, sweetie. Come on. She's coming. She's coming. Come here. Come here.
Oh, hello, Tippy. Tippy's a real star. Isn't she cute? Thank you. Jan, I'm putting you on speaker view, whether you have Tippy in the frame or not. Why don't you fill us in, tell us a little more? And I think these two gentlemen will be very interested in your new novel that just came out, The Mirror. Jan has an amazing talent for not only writing, but she does voices. She can do the Scottish accent of the speakers in the book, Marcel. It's amazing. I'll send you all the link to the show where we had authors reading their books, and Jan created some beautiful videos, some video trailers with a very sexy leading man, and it took me a while to stop playing the video. Jan, I'm putting you on speaker there, dear, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to? Go ahead.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, 11 years ago, my life stopped. I had a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke. And when I woke, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I had nothing. And they figured that was where it was going to be. Well, fast forward to COVID, I went back to college and got my master's in creative writing. And I started my journey with Tippy and Tippy's new friend, which is a white dragon. And then I started writing poetry books. I advanced to love letters and soft confessions. And most recently, it's actually a book I started, oh gosh, 30 years ago. It's called The Mirror. And it's basically a woman in Scotland, in Upper Scotland. She finds an old tower house that is falling apart, but there's this one room that is in one piece. And it has this amazingly beautiful, ornate, golden framed mirror. But when she looks in the mirror, it starts to shimmer and it shows her her past lives. So, all through this book, she gets flashbacks to all of these lives that she has lived. And there is always this alter ego that she's finding, her nemesis, I guess, her love affair guy and girl. And he's always showing up. She even is, they do switch. Sometimes she's a male, sometimes she's a female. And all of a sudden, this guy comes to her door up in Scotland and knocks his head on the door frame because he's so tall. And her house is actually from the days of Culloden, which is her first flashback. And when he looks up, she recognizes him as a soul she's been traveling through time with.
Oh, I've got chills.
It's and basically we start with Culloden, the Battle of Culloden, where she loses her love interest. We go back to Wales and to Ireland and into Druid lands and we go to France, gotta have France. And it goes all the way back to China, back about 1500 before Christ, BC. All these stories. And also she's collecting stories from locals in her area of past histories. And in this second book, there's a total of 3 or 4 books, I'm not sure what yet. She goes on a cruise down in the Mediterranean on this sailing ship. And she also collects stories because people realize that she's an editor of For the Love of Nature. It's a nature magazine, and they gather and they tell her stories. So she
Beautiful.
gets a story from Greece, a story from Italy, and it's amazing.
It's lovely. Jan, you obviously are a whole person. You always were, despite what happened 11 years ago. I'm very proud to know you because you're not a survivor, you're a champion. You're a champion. And I want to just say thank you. I have to admit, Jan was stalking me about 2 years ago on social media, and she wanted to come on my shows. And I finally said yes, and we became friends because I have great respect for you. Jan, you did a reading. Can you just give us 1 or 2 sentences with your beautiful Scottish accent? I think Charles has an accent, and Marcel has an accent, and I would like Jan to do her Scottish if you could. I'm not going to do New York. Don't ask me, okay? Don't even ask me. No Bronx today.
Let me roll my tongue. In the village of Donnoch, present day, it's Alistair, okay? I took the early train to Edinburgh to Tain, then caught a fare to Donnoch. I was about to get a hold of the elusive editor, hopefully sell an article or two. I knew her name, having seen it listed with the magazine's address, Kenna McTavish.
Beautiful. See, I have to come up with a different name for the show every episode, every week. And I looked at the bios from the three of you and I said, the mapping of creativity. And that's what we're doing right now through the accents, through the backgrounds, through what interests you, through how you grew up, through what you bring to the round table today. Jan, I interrupted you. Finish, and then we got to go to the opening quotes. Go ahead, finish what you were saying, dear. I apologize.
Oh, no, it was just my accent was a lot better when I came home from Scotland many years ago.
Well, we didn't know you then, and we like it just the way it is. So there you go. Very, very well done. This is just delicious. Charles, I love bringing people together. Charles said he hadn't done a live show before. Everything was pre-recorded. I don't want to be editing. I don't want to be scrubbing. I want you to be who you
Mm.
are. Bring it to the table, be who you are, and take your chances with me. And that's the way it is. Let's go to the opening quotes. We've got a lot to cover here. Oh my goodness, we're almost halfway done. We're doing fine on time. I've asked each of my three guests to please bring me a quote, a fictional quote from a character in a fictional movie, TV show, or a song lyric. And they're going to very briefly relate that quote to their own creativity. That's what we're talking about today. So Charles has brought a very serious quote from a very serious movie, but I think we'll see what he's going to do with it. The quote was stated in the movie Bridge of Spies, which is a 2015 historical drama film directed and co-produced by Steven Spielberg. I didn't know that. It was written by the Coen brothers and Matt Charman. I don't know who he is, but if the Coen brothers were in on it, must have been good. Rudolph Abel is the character played by Mark Rylance, and it stars Tom Hanks in the lead, Amy Ryan, Alan Alda. What a cast, set in the Cold War. The story of a lawyer who is entrusted with negotiating the release of famous person, Francis Gary Powers. We're going to leave the rest on the table here, but interestingly enough, it grossed $165 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. Wouldn't that have been a nice show to invest in? Yes, it would have. Okay, here's the quote. It's three words. These are usually very powerful quotes, Charles. And the quote is, would it help? So why don't you relate that to your creativity? Not the history of the movie, but what does this mean to you? Charles Grimes, go.
Okay. Would it help? How does uh well it really relates to how I try and live my life. Because when stuff happens, which it always does, when things go wrong, when they don't turn out it's as you would like, it's so easy to get anxious. And the point about the film is that Mark Rylance, the character, is probably going to be sent back to Russia, and they're probably going to kill him because he was a spy. And Tom Hanks who's the lawyer, several times through the film says, you don't seem very worried. And then Mark Rylance says, would it help?
Beautiful.
And I just think yeah, it's a hell of a way to just try and ground yourself rather than things, your mind running away, which it's so easy to do. And the thing is, with creativity, as we all know, it's not a smooth path. You don't start a poem, you don't or whatever you're writing, and you just steadily get a bit better each day and achieve a bit more. No, of course not. You have lots of days when have to love the plateau, as they said, when nothing happens, or sometimes you seem to be at a real dead end, and think it'll never go anywhere. But you can't think like that. You just got to think, okay, let's plow on, because would it help?
I like that. You did that really, really well. Very interesting. Would it help? Sometimes you could probably apply that to second guessing your creativity, your talent, your writing, right? Would it help if I changed that word? Would it help if I changed that line? Would
Yeah.
it help if I wrote the third book first, Jen, instead of the first book first? Would it help if I had a different editor? Would it help? Very interesting question, Charles. That's a big question. Would it help? And I think
Thank
it
you.
applies to, well, no, thank you. And I think it applies to almost everything we do creatively. Would it help if we did
It's
so?
also a hell of a film, I should say.
Oh,
And
I'm
Mark Rylance got the Oscar for the best supporting actor that
There
year.
you go.
So
There you go. It's probably in my notes. I didn't go that far. Thank you. Marcel has picked a quote from a film, a 1995 historical drama film. It was called Total Eclipse, and the character is Arthur Rimbaud, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. We got some really good actors here. Directed by Agnieszka Holland. It's based on a 1967 play by Christopher Hampton, who adapted it for the screen, based on letters and poems. It represents a historically accurate account of the relationship between the French poets Arthur, and Paul Verlaine, played by David Thewlis. I hope that got that right. Let's see now. Okay, I'm not going to go through the whole discussion here, but I would like to read the quote and see what Marcel's going to do with it regarding his creativity. A long, immense, and reasoned derangement of all the senses. Oh, that's a fragment coming from somewhere. Okay, Marcel, you're up. What does this have to do with creativity? Go ahead. Charles can't wait to hear this. I can see he's thinking, this is going to be a good one. Jan says, yeah, I know it's going to be good. Go ahead, Marcel. What are you going to do with this?
Actually, when in 1996, I went for the first time to Los Angeles, and I met with a screenwriter, poet, American, DJ Carlisle, who was involved in a project of retranslating Rimbaud's work. He was working at a Borders music store. I don't know if they still exist. And I met with him. And actually, I was surprised at that moment to meet with an American at the West Coast who knew about the River Meuse here in Belgium, France, who could name some names in Belgium and France, Charleville-Mézières. And as we connected, I started understanding his passion about Rimbaud. And I heard about Rimbaud, but I didn't met with his poetry at that time. So basically, I learned about poetry by Rimbaud. Now, he introduced me to the film Eclipse Totale, as he was saying, total eclipse. And actually, the story went on that he visited me in Belgium, and we went to Charleville-Mézières. And the story is we met up with another author, translator, Bertrand Mathieu, who was an American who made a translation of Rimbaud's poets back in the 60s, who was living in Charleville-Mézières, and who was married to the great-granddaughter of the landlord where Arthur Rimbaud lived. So we were invited to visit that same house, which was just a few houses from where they were living. Now, the most beautiful and almost mystical moment at that time was that house, the wallpapers, the house, the paint, it did not change since the time that Rimbaud and his family lived there. And when we entered the house, there was a staircase, and that was exactly the staircase which he described in one of his poems. So that was a long, immense and recent derangement of all the senses. You were actually interconnected in times, standing there with an American who taught me about Rimbaud, who was actually living not far away from the Ardennes, French-Belgian Ardennes, where I used to come already since my birth. And then you see how poetry came alive, and actually that ignited to me that fire to continue in poetry.
That's lovely. Thank you. Place and time. Sometimes we never know. And who was it just said there's not a straight line in our create? Charles, did you say that? Not a straight line in our
No, but I do. Yes, I'm aware of that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking I've had about 14 different careers. I'll tell you all later on. I won't take up too much time here, but uh, we come and go. I think a lot of it is what appeals to us. Derangement, Marcel, what happens at a moment in time, what appeals to us, to our senses, to our mind, to our heart, for where we are in our own trajectory at a moment in time, and what the stimuli are around us, what comes to us, whether it's a person, whether it's a movie, whether it's a book, whether it's an accent, whether it's an accident. Things just grab us sometimes. I've walked in a room and looked at a person I've never known and said, I'm going to have a relationship or I'm going to have a friendship with that person. I just felt a vibe and I had no idea why, and it turned out that way. It's just interesting. Jan, you said you started your book, the idea of it 30 years ago. The time was right now for you to be writing that book, but it wasn't at the time when it, for some reason, it was interrupted, and that's okay. There's that line. And Marcel, thank you so much for the quote. Very, very beautiful line. And let's go to Jan now. Jan has picked a quote from Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is a space opera TV series. This is from season 5, episode 2. It aired on February 10th, 1997. We're back in that era again. The speaker is Narn Ambassador G apostrophe K-A-R, played by Charles knows, Andreas Katsoulis. The episode is Epiphanies, and fictional character. He is a Narn. He appears as a villainous diplomat opposite Londo Mollari. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I'm not doing an Irish accent or a Scottish one, Jan, because that's not appropriate for this one. Being consistently engaged in insidious, if petty, and often comical schemes, usually driven by his hostility to his people's historical enemies, the Centauri. Okay, I'm going to stop getting entangled in all of this, and I'm going to read the quote you've picked. I'm delirious with joy. It proves that if you confront the universe with good intentions in your heart, it will reflect that and reward your intent, usually. It just doesn't always do it in the way you expect. What an interesting quote, Jan. This is like telling a whole story in 2 sentences. I hope I did it justice. Why don't you rescue me and tell us why you picked this and what it has to do with your creativity? Go ahead.
I picked that because the universe did not do what I expected by the stroke, and it stopped everything that was, but yet it started what should have been before that I had been hiding. And without that, I would not be here today doing what I love and writing with a mirror. I actually cross every chapter starts with a poem about the chapter. So I'm teaching people that poetry can be a beautiful way to express things. And that's what the universe did. It opened my eyes to something that was hidden from me because I had hidden it myself. I had been there for everyone else, but not for myself. And the universe said, enough. You're so nice to everybody else. You help everybody else, but it's time for you. And here I am.
Here you are. Je suis ici. Je pense donc je suis. Right, Marcel?
Yeah, très
Oui,
bien.
oui.
Donc,
The
c'est-
thinker. Oui. I'm
Oui, oui,
here.
monsieur.
I'm
Mich-
thinking, I'm here, I'm present. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Jan. Thank you to the three of you for picking such interesting quotes. I appreciate that. I just will tell you that on my shows, I used to tell people pick any famous quote you wanted. And after a while, everybody was picking, let's see, we had Churchill a lot, and we had Darwin, and we had Mark Twain, and we had Maya Angelou. And those were the ones who, and after a while, I knew the quotes by heart. And I said, stop. We're going to go with movies, with TV shows, not book characters, movie, TV shows, and song lyrics. We're going to open up the universe of quotes that can speak to us, to what we're doing, to our creativity. I do this on my technology show as well. Pick a quote not about the topic and relate it to the topic. And it's very interesting. One of the favorite quotes, you'll be intrigued, none of you picked this one, but one of the ones that gets picked very often is just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. Dory from Finding Nemo. People like that quote. They like quotes from Sam Gamwise from
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. That's a popular one. And another one used to be popular is You Can't Handle the Truth from A Few Good Men. That was Jack Nicholson's character. Those tend to be the quotes that people pick because they're so universal. You can apply them to anything. And then the intrigue is how do they apply it to the topic? So interesting. Thank you all. Okay, now we're going to go to the creativity statements. And we're going to turn this into a real roundtable. Charles, I'm going to pick one of your statements. I have it selected here, highlighted in my notes. You don't have to find it. This is not a pop quiz. And I'm going to read it and ask you to take about 2 minutes and unpack it, like they say on the news, explore it. Just give us more about it. And then I'm going to ask Marcel and Jan, I don't know which order, whoever, if one of you wiggles your finger at me, I'll call you first, to comment whether this resonates with you. It might not, but we're going to get into how you all process your creativity, how you write, how you think, what your muse is, what your inspirations are, that kind of thing. So this is just a friendly roundtable, and let's just talk with each other. So Charles says, an unusual aspect of my creativity is that I create endless mind maps. And you're going to have to unpack this for us in an attempt to help me make sense of the world, to help me join the dots. I think this is a big topic, but we're only going to give you 2 minutes to unpack it. So, Charles, why don't you go for this, and then we'll see what Jan and Marcel have to say. It might resonate with them, and it might not. We just want to know. So, Charles, go ahead. You're up.
Okay, well, I think it really comes. One of the things I haven't mentioned. There's no reason why I should have mentioned it. Is that I had a diagnosis just 6 years ago with having Asperger's, being on the autistic spectrum, and one of the aspects of that is that I find stuff, everything, fascinating. I mean, really everything. I can't think of anything I don't find fascinating. I mean, okay, with sport, maybe not every sport, but I find sport, science, and it just means that I've got endless, bits of data floating around my head, and I'm constantly trying to put them together into some sort of whole. And that's really been, yeah, the whole purpose. I mean, you talked about maps earlier on, and yeah, that's what I love doing, is trying to have a map of things. And I have a number of books that I will probably never get round to writing, but where I'm trying to synthesize all these different elements. How can I, whether it's physics and biology and chemistry, how can I relate that to music and painting and literature, and can I relate those to, religion? And so it goes on. I mean, just the mind map just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So
I
it's
love it.
but yeah, it's a way to try and understand the world around us. That's what I'm
Thank
the
you.
most fundamental thing.
And I think our writing is how we're helping our worlds we're understanding our own worlds, and maybe somebody else
Sure,
is too.
yeah,
Same,
I think that's
same.
why we all write. I mean, that's why
Yes,
I wrote this book, was because yeah, to help me understand elements of leadership.
there you
Yes,
go. I'm
yeah.
going to go around the table. Jan, you were smiling and nodding. I'm going to call on you first, just briefly. Anything resonate with you, what Charles said, and then Marcel?
Oh yeah, I have ADHD and I'm always doing four or five things at once and they're all interesting and I want to keep doing, but then there's and wait a minute, but that yeah, yeah.
It's
Mm,
exhausting,
yep,
isn't it? It's tiring.
yes.
Marcel, does this resonate with you?
Yes, definitely. Although I'm not diagnosed so far, but I do relate to Charles. That's this ideas that there's so much impulses around us and so many interesting things. And especially I can relate to the idea that you're connecting the dots, that you're seeing and hearing and feeling and sensing all these different ideas, synchronicities, and you're trying to connect to, at the end, understand. So
Thank
I
you.
definitely I really understand that.
Thank you, Charles. Good opening
And
for
I
this.
and I
Yeah, go
tend
ahead.
to, very briefly, I tend to join them, these dots, in an unorthodox way. That's the in the
I understand.
non-traditional way.
And
Yes, I
that's your
understand
charm.
that.
That's your
Yeah.
charm. Okay, I'm going to move on. Marcel, I've statement number two from you. This is interesting. We're talking time and place here. You say, I do my best work in the quiet edges of the day, early mornings, late nights, where focus deepens and ideas take shape. I create to reveal what lies beneath the surface, drawing from real conversations, unresolved tensions, and the subtle patterns of human behavior. I think that was a poem, Marcel. Okay, so let's talk about the edges, the early mornings and the late nights. Is this, what do you do? Pick up a pen, a keyboard, a dictation program in early morning and late? What do you do at these edges? We'd like to know a little bit about your process, Marcel.
Well, it's the silence.
Ah, talk to me. Tell me.
Silence, silence is a wonderful beginning. Actually, if you look at it binary, you have 0 and you have 1. And most people say 0 is nothing. But in fact, 0 is the beginning and 1 is the manifestation. And in this case, 0 is the silence. And in silence, ideas come, thoughts come, patterns, the dots that you're connecting. And in that silence, I find mostly early in the mornings or late at night, when the whole world becomes quiet. It's at that moment that the creativity starts, the thoughts, and then the fingers move, grab the pencil or the pen and start writing. And that's the manifestation of the thoughts, the poetry, the ideas. And sometimes they're just words, which are just laying there, ripening like a good wine. And you're just looking at it a few days later and you don't understand anything which you have written down. You put it aside. And a month later, you come back to those words and you say, aha, that's what I meant at that moment. And that's creativity.
It's lovely. What a lovely thought. Jan, you want to comment? And then Charles? Jan, what do you think?
Well, I agree with him because as we'll find out next, I write at night when it's quiet because I can listen to my characters speak to me and I write down what they're telling me. So yes, in the quiet, you need that time when there's nothing to distract you from everything else.
Thank you. Charles, what time of day or night are you
Well, I was just
inspired?
thinking that I was thinking that when Marcel was talking about 0 and 1, and that 1 is the manifestation, that it's exactly the same with music. Uh, a music piece, if you're listening to a symphony, it doesn't start. Well, it's always interesting. Where does the music start? And it's
Right.
not with the first note. It's come from something. It's come from that silence just before it. Especially if you're at a live performance. I mean, there's just a time when it is just the right time to play that first note, but the silence before it is part of the performance. Yeah.
Interesting. And I relate ones and zeros, Marcel. I'm an early woman in tech. I was a programmer analyst way back in the day when I was key punching my code, and I could write 2,000 lines of code on paper over a weekend, key punch it Monday, and have it in production in a statewide reporting system by 1 o'clock Monday afternoon. I lived code. I loved creating from nothing. It was a blank piece of paper. We need this report. Go put the code, put the syntax, put the words together, whatever the language was, it was COBOL, and put it together and make something happen. And people say programming is all math. That's BS. It's creativity. No two codes are the same. No two programmers are the same. Anyway, I can't get over no code, low code today because I love that life. But that's besides the point. My point, Marcella, and to everybody was I always thought of the quote, do or do not, there is no try from Yoda. Well, to me, a 0 and 1, a zero is a choice. If you say, I'm not going to do it, I'm checking the zero. You have chosen to not do that, to not take that path, to not do
Mhm.
that thing, to not write it, to not say it, to not eat it. And the one is, yeah, I'll do it. So the zero is always to me, people say, zero, it doesn't mean it is a choice. It's a binary choice, 0 or 1. There you go. That's how I think of it as mathematically. Thank you very much. Jan, we've used up some of your statements here about you creating the hour of the wolf when you're comfy in bed, when it's dark and your ADHD is sleeping. I love that. You basically said that in another way, but I'm going to go to your creativity number 2. I'm looking, we got about 6 minutes left, but we got plenty of time here. Jan says, book 1 in my series is done. Book 2 is almost fleshed out. Book 3 has more than just bones. This has been happening since its inception. With my stroke brain, this becomes difficult. Here's the kicker here. Having a faulty memory. The characters remind me of what I've forgotten. They are as real to me as you are. This is quite a statement, Jan, about your creativity. The characters remind you. I'm not sure whether Charles is saying, "Oh my goodness gracious, I can't wait to talk about this," or he's praying. I'm not sure. I saw the hand. I'm sorry, it's not a religious show. Jan, why don't you take 2 minutes and tell us about this? Because I'm looking at the clock now, and then we'll go around the table briefly, and then we'll close. Go ahead, Jan.
My stroke brain literally cannot remember things. So I could write something, I can write a chapter and start to look at it again and not remember it, which is great for editing, but it's difficult. So when I move on to the next chapter, that's when it needs to be quiet so I can hear what my characters are saying and thinking, and they literally remind me of everything beforehand. It's magical. I can't explain it other than that. It's just, I am not the writer, I am the recorder. They are the writers for me.
I wrote 2 romantic comedy plays about 8 years ago, and I wrote them between 1 and 4 in the morning. I had a full-time job, and I decided to write a play. You've heard this, Dan. And the characters basically told me who they were, what they sounded like, what they looked like, what they ate, how they spoke. They met on a dating site anonymously. They ended up in a cab on their first date and almost didn't make it. And it wrote itself. I was the channel. I was the recorder. And I had some actors on Long Island agreed, some friends who were community actors, community theater. I said, I'll put everything on a teleprompter. You don't need to memorize because they were doing other shows. And we did it twice. I'll send you all the link. It was recorded, and it was just magical hearing the characters, my characters, come to life saying things that basically came from me, reminded me of me and some of my paths and my journeys. And they just spoke. They just came out. I didn't have to say, "Oh, what's he going to say?" What there? Blah 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 blah. Quick, type faster, type fast. It was quite something. Marcel, quickly, what do you? Any comments on this?
Well, the first thing that pops up to my mind is that the ancient Greeks had a word for them. They had goddesses called the Muses.
There you go. We talk about the muses, right? The inspirations. And thank you, thank you, Charles. Anything about
Oh,
inspiration?
many composers talk. I mean, I'm thinking, you can think of
Yes.
Mozart as it's just coming through. It's through them. They're just, as you said, they're just channels.
Yes, I like that. Thank you, Jan. That was very interesting. I'm going to read a couple quotes to you and then one of my poems, and I hope you can all stick around and we'll talk afterwards. Lucy Maud Montgomery was a Canadian novelist who wrote Anne of Green Gables in 1908, and her chapter 19 was titled, and I love this title, A Concert, a Catastrophe, and a Confession. Is that a title or what? Talk about alliteration. But here's the quote I'm going to read to all of you. Something just flashes into your mind, so exciting, and you must out with it. If you stop to think it over, you spoil it all. Interesting, interesting. And one more, Rapunzel, voiced by Mandy Moore in the computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film Tangled 2010. I know it's a lot of genres. They just smashed them all together. The quote was, "Venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it." Ah, I think we've all done that. Rock star David Byrne from Talking Heads was interviewed by somebody named Stephen Johnson a couple years ago. The podcast was called How Ideas Happen. And I'm just going to read this to you because I think you'll all find this interesting. Sometimes I have just the title of a song that comes to me and I write it down and I go to myself, expand on that. I think there's something there. And I have in my computer a whole lot of musical ideas that maybe have a melody, a nonsense word melody, awaiting words. But I need something to start with. It's hard to start from nothing. I accumulate these very little beginnings. And when I come back, I've got something to build on. Marcel, does that resonate? Yes?
100%.
Yeah, I keep this quote in here because I love it. I'm going to read a poem to all of you. I wrote this. This was Wednesday, July 24th, just exactly almost 2 years ago for my poetry group. And the prompt was the word night shift. And I like acrostics. I'm not going to show it on the screen, but I'm going to nod when I hit each letter, NIGHT, SHIFT. And this is dedicated to the three of you with love from me. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative, going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows, flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster. Finding eureka, euphoria, amid frustration, fears. Thus is the life of the creative. I hope you enjoyed that. I keep that here because that's one of my favorites out of the 800 or 900 I've written. That's one of my all-time favorites. And I have another acrostic. The prompt was write a blank like blank, and I used those letters, and here it goes. Believe in love always. Never kiss a leprechaun in a kayak. Every boat's like a nervous kangaroo. That was a one letter acrostic. There you go. So let's close. We have just about a minute and a half here, and stick around, please. We'll talk. And I want to thank Jordan Henson from Voice America Media Empowerment Channel for putting us on their channel today. Thank you, Jordan. So here we go. I closed this show in 2014. Yes, I was doing it that far back. And with the top 10 tips for women, but they apply to everybody, sir and sir. And the number one tip was 10 years before the movie came out by Greta Gerwig, and she co-wrote Barbie with her husband, Noah Baumbach. I didn't know that. And she was the first solo female director to get an Oscar for a movie like that. Here we go. The quote is, aspire to be Barbie, the biatch has everything. There you go, Charles. There's something to think about there. And now I have my final closing here, and then we'll play some music and we'll dance. So life is short. Break the rules, I think we all do. Forgive quickly. I'm still trying to figure that one out. It's not working yet. Kiss slowly. That I know. Love truly. Yes. Laugh uncontrollably. Everybody laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. I don't have insurance. Don't hurt yourself. And never, ever, ever regret anything that made you smile. And here we go. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. I taught disco in high heels in a high school cafeteria to 175 people, and they didn't have a stage the first week. And I was on a Formica top. Everybody watched. I didn't fall, but what legs I had. I made them build a stage for me the next week. I made $2.33 an hour, but it was a lot of fun. Sing like nobody's listening. I didn't sing today. And love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart regrow, regroup, regenerate, be resilient, and learn to love again. Money talks. Chocolate sings, la, that I allow myself to do. And here we go. Last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on. And let's go out with the closing here.
The creativity
All right, dance with me.
Live
hour.
Let it flow.
Let it flow.
Unscripted words in a velvet ring.
Velvet ring.
Savvy minds on the line they bring. Producer and host in the glow.
I'm glowing.
akaRadioRed, let's go. Tell me what it is that sparks your
What sparks your fire?
What